Welcome back to America Decides. We are monitoring the rapidly expanding Hughes fire in Los Angeles County. At least 5,000 acres have been burned, and additional mandatory evacuations have been ordered. President Trump is set to visit communities burned by fires earlier this month, doing so on Friday. To talk about what actually is important about these wildfires, I want to bring in investigative reporter for the Los Angeles Times, Alene Tchekmedyian. Alene, it's great to talk to you. You and your colleagues at the LA Times have done some really important reporting about decisions not taken before these wildfires broke out that had been taken in previous instances in Los Angeles when the combination of drought, dry brush, and high winds were present. Explain to my audience what you found.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So we obtained some internal documents that show the resources that the LA Fire Department had available and what they chose to staff up and pre-position in fire risk areas in the city of LA ahead of the fire. These were decisions that were made at a day before the fire ignited in the Pacific Palisades. This was when the National Weather Service was sending out pretty dramatic warnings about a life-threatening and destructive windstorm that was on the way to the region. And we found that the LAFD had a set of more than 40 available engines that could have helped them with wildfire threats in response, and they only chose to staff about 5 of them ahead of the fire. They also have, or they're supposed to have, 9 or so more engines in reserve. These are supposed to be fully loaded engines that they can send out immediately in an emergency or if another rig breaks down. And on the planning documents that we obtained, the LAFD also said no to deploying these extra engines. To compare, we looked at similarly bad wind events in the past, including one in 2011, which actually the Weather Service was using this time around when alerting fire officials about what to expect on January 7th. They were saying to expect conditions as bad or worse than this event in 2011. And when we examined what they did back then, the differences were stark. They staffed up a lot more and pre-positioned a lot more resources in more areas, including in the Pacific Palisades, where this fire happened.
And Alene, explain to the audience the vital importance of this pre-positioning. Having firefighters there in case something happens to respond rapidly. Why does that matter so much?
Pretty much the experts that we spoke to said in these types of events, being fast is key because fires start really small, and the key is to get there as quickly as possible and hit it fast and hit it hard, right? And so if you were pre-deployed in certain areas, you would be able to get there as fast as possible and throw everything at it from the outset and then get it under control quickly before it spreads rapidly, especially on a day like this when the winds were blowing 80, 90, 100 miles per hour. That has the potential to be very damaging.
And lots of people have heard plenty of information, some disinformation about fire hydrants. But as I understand it, if those fires are not jumped on immediately and they begin to get velocity, begin to get size and scope, then residents understandably begin to use their own hoses to try to wet down their houses, pulling water out of the available fire hydrants, making the response, late though it is, for firefighters, all the more difficult. Do I have that right?
Yeah, there were some pressure issues with the fire hydrants because of just the demand that was happening with just how much water they needed to use. And my colleagues have done great work on that and also looking at the empty reservoir that was built that was nearby that didn't have any water in it as well.
Alene Tchekmedyian, the LA Times, thank you very much for your reporting and your time.